Modern physics relies on granular data to bridge continuous fields with discrete realities. The recent W boson mass measurement by the CMS collaboration exemplifies this, extracting a phenomenological mass from massive datasets using advanced perturbative quantum chromodynamics. The challenge underlying these measurements is thermodynamic divergence. When continuous mathematical manifolds are forced into discrete physical states, the mismatch generates fractional phase drag, the literal friction of continuous waves colliding with a quantized boundary. To manage this drag, classical quantum field theory patches the equations. Standard analysis integrates mathematical subtractions, theory nuisance parameters, and Faddy of Popov ghosts to artificially suppress infinity and absorb the resulting rounding errors. The theory of infinity operates on a different premise. It treats absolute infinity as a foundational ontological primitive, the source from which all structural reality organically emerges. In this model, the universe circumvents thermodynamic friction natively. It operates as an ordered, deterministic topological circuit, utilizing specific polynomial symmetries governed by exact number-theoretic constants to strip away continuous phase drag. This suggests that the infinite thermodynamic divergences in modern particle physics are not inherent to nature, but are instead byproducts of using the wrong dimensional coefficients to map the continuum. Insulating a system from scalar drag requires the use of a dimensionally invariant manifold. This mechanism locks the continuous spatial dimension directly to the geometric power of the governing polynomial. When substituting the continuous dimension into a four-dimensional manifold, the spatial parameter collapses into an absolute minimal generator. X to the fourth equals x squared plus 1. This polynomial generates a strict bifurcation of roots. The physical shell of the universe manifests strictly on the real axis, locking into the coordinates of the positive and negative square root of phi. Concurrently, the underlying phase charge segregates entirely onto the imaginary axis. It occupies the coordinates of positive and negative I times the square root of 1 over phi. Dividing the magnitude of the physical shell by the imaginary charge flawlessly cancels out the fractions. The result is exactly the golden ratio. This symmetry enforces an orthogonal separation of structure and charge. Governed exclusively by the golden ratio, it eliminates cascading decimals and fractional phase drag. Moving from a 4D void into a 3D Euclidean container requires the polynomial architecture to reduce its degree to match the spatial geometry. This shift produces the cubic equation, x cubed equals x plus 1. The apophatic decompilation of this cubic equation reveals a single positive real root, the plastic ratio, denoted by ρ. It evaluates to approximately 1.3247. This Ouroboros Rhomboid Lattice acts as the mechanical constraint that weaves continuous threads into bounded 3D surfaces. Notice how the chaotic potential of the vacuum, the purple waves, flows downward into the structure. The lattice functions as a topological sieve. The geometry of the plastic ratio forces the continuous waves to shed their fractional noise, aligning the expanding dimension into pure, discrete physical nodes. The cubic constraint of the plastic ratio is mathematically sufficient to generate the observable material shell without the need for manual perturbative regularizers. Analyzing the cubic generator through Vietta's formulas reveals the mathematical origin of this stability. In the equation x cubed minus x minus 1 equals 0, there is a total absence of a 0 squared term. This missing term dictates a strict law. The sum of the three roots across the complex plane must perfectly equal 0. This creates the mechanics of the double join. The magnitude of the real physical root is exactly twice the magnitude of the real projection of the two latent imaginary roots. Because the imaginary roots act as a complex conjugate pair, their vertical components perfectly eliminate one another upon summation. The physical structure is counterbalanced by the combined real parts of the complex charge. These opposing forces pull against each other, zeroing out at the origin. This annihilation of thermodynamic noise locks the universe into stable emergence. The observable universe remains stable because these complex charges act as a mathematical anchor. Without this zero-sum join, spatial expansion would fracture under thermodynamic friction. This leads to the foundational question: Why does the mathematical void select the golden ratio and the plastic ratio specifically over any other geometric artifact? In analytical number theory, both constants are classified as Pisot-Vijaya-Raghavan numbers, or Pisot numbers. A Pisot number is a real algebraic integer greater than 1, characterized by a rare property. All of its Galois conjugates are confined entirely inside the unit circle of the complex plane. As a Pisot number scales toward infinity, its distance to the nearest integer approaches absolute zero exponentially. The orange-golden ratio and blue-plastic ratio lines plunge toward the zero baseline, unlike the erratic control, demonstrating their capacity to eliminate decimal fractions. In this model, fractional decimals are interpreted as unresolved thermodynamic heat. Pisot numbers are the exclusive mathematical entities capable of expanding to infinity while simultaneously collapsing this fractional exhaust to zero. By applying exponent synchronization, the universe seeks the path of least resistance. Physical reality natively outputs Pisot constants to efficiently scale dimensions. The dimensionally invariant cubic collapsed onto the plastic ratio because it is the absolute minimal element, the smallest possible Pisot number. It creates the fundamental structural floor for 3D volumetric space. The golden ratio acts as the corresponding attractor. As the smallest limit point of the entire Pisot set, it governs the boundaries of 4D and 2D planar space. This architecture suggests the universe is not a chaotic void requiring manual mathematical regularizers. It is a self-correcting topological circuit. The Ouroboros Rhomboid Lattice emerges from this logic as a structural engine, mechanically stabilized by the balance of the zero-sum double join. Within the theory of infinity, mathematical reality enforces physical existence through rigid, frictionless, and immutable geometric law.